Welcome to Murder.
And everything else.
My name is Joy.
And my name is Cheryl. And Joy and I are two old friends who are going to talk about murder and everything else.
Everything else.
Everything else.
A quick reminder that this podcast is not for kids. And we're not talking about goats.
Oh my God.
Do you want to hear a funny joke?
Sure.
No, I'm not going to tell it because I'm sure we'll get canceled if I do. The kids are always telling me, don't tell those jokes. You're going to get canceled.
Oh gosh.
Anyway,
now everybody wants to know what it is. You just did a teaser.
I'll have to come up with a joke that's not insensitive or politically incorrect.
Oh, brother, that's going to be hard for you.
So anyway, what are your disclaimers, Cheryl?
Laughter is the best medicine, after all.
Don't forget to like, subscribe, follow.
You didn't put it in the document.
It's in it.
If it's not in front of me, I'm not going to say it.
It's totally in there. Look, podcast 25, current events, whatever.
Oh, I'm
guys,
looking at number 1. I'm on the wrong end of the document.
Guys, just so you know, I'm writing the document. So,
just so
if
you
stuff
know,
doesn't get in it, we can only look back at ourselves and blame ourselves.
Yeah. I am operating on fumes. I have not been sleeping.
On what kind of fumes? Hopefully it's not the kind.
No, it's fumes of despair and
despondency.
Despondency, yes. Oh my God. Oh, which
you're in the there was this book that my mom made us read by somebody I think named John Bunyan. He was imprisoned in like the in like the 13th century or something for being a Christian, and he was going to be put to death. So he wrote a book called Pilgrim's Progress, and it was all about this man named Pilgrim who had all these hurdles he had to like overcome. And of course, it was a metaphor for his life, blah, blah. But anyway, there was a slough of despondency. And so he got bogged down in the slough of despondency. And so whenever I hear the word despondent, I always think of the slough of despondency.
Well, that's me. Which could lead to my highs and lows. Are we ready to go into that?
Yeah, girl, take it away.
Oh my God, I don't know where to begin. So as you know, I've had a torn meniscus in my knees, both knees, and I didn't take care of it. And so then I went back this week to take care of it. And lo and behold, the PA comes in and she's like, physician's assistant, by the way. And she's like, oh, I have bad news, because they take x-rays every time you go there. And she showed me my lovely x-ray and she's like, your knees are now bone on bone.
Why can't they do like, I have good news and I have bad news? Which one do you want to hear first?
Well, it's possibly because there was no good news at this visit.
Yeah, but they need to focus on customer service skills. Yeah, make something up. Like, I have a chocolate in my pocket and your knees are all fucked up. And then they're all, you have to get it out of my pocket, which then you're like, whoa, not that kind of doctor's appointment.
Oh man. Well, so I have to tell you, a part of me is like, yes, let's do this. I want to feel better. I haven't, been walking Bodhi. I haven't been doing Pilates and yoga for a while. And so I'm like, let's do this. I really want to feel better, which is great. But then all these questions popped up after that. Kevin had all these great questions, and I was like, no, I didn't think of it. I was in shock. I was ready to cry when she told me my knees, it was on bone. But I asked her later in an email, I said, if I had gotten the meniscus tear taken care of, would it have prevented this? Because I'm kind of beating myself up. And she's like, no, it would have happened anyway. So then I'm thinking, oh, great. So I could have had the meniscus surgery and still dealt with this. So it's kind of good that I like procrastinated. And then, I
So is
emailed
that
her.
the high? The
Well, I don't know. You
procrastination?
know what? I'm going to leave this up for interpretation. I'm going to tell you my story, and you guys can. There are highs and lows in each one because I looked at that like, well, thank goodness I didn't do the meniscus surgery earlier in the year because this was inevitable. So I don't understand this whole thing.
Yeah.
That makes
And
me feel like
also
you guys
just
just
to
want to make money off of me.
just to interject, if you ever decide to write a memoir, I have the perfect title and it's Bone on Bone by Don't you think that would fly off the shelves?
Bone on bone with the chocolate in your pocket. Um, so so then now my question is, it's a partial. She said you're going to need a partial knee replacement in each one. And so now my question, I couldn't sleep. I haven't been able to sleep since I found out I need the surgery. So last night I was tossing and turning. And I finally got up at, I don't know what time it was when I texted you this morning, but I emailed her and I
It was
said,
early. It was
yeah,
really early. I think
I
it was
know,
like 7 o'clock my time, which was like
which
what,
is
4 o'clock
I
your
know.
time.
Yeah. So I emailed her and I said, so you're talking about partial knee replacement. Does this mean that it's going to eventually be a full knee replacement? Because I want to minimize the amount of times I'm going to have surgery. You know what I'm saying? Because then I'm like, I'm just going to
Yeah.
wait till it goes out completely and I have to have full knee replacement. Because if I get a
Yeah.
partial now and you're telling me in a year or whatever, I'm going to have a full, I'm going to wait. But anyway, she hasn't responded yet. So there's a high
That
and a
makes
low in
sense.
that. There's a high and a low because everyone I've spoken to who either has had it themselves or knows of someone that's had it, it's improved their life immensely. So I want that because I have been like a little bit crippled for the last not almost going on a year. So anyway,
Wow.
that's kind of a high and low rolled up into one. But yeah, we shall see. We shall see. And then of course it's like the surgeon is going to be out all next month. August is already booked, so who knows when I'm going to get this done. But
Yeah.
to be honest, I am excited because I want to feel better. I
Yeah.
want to
And
feel
you
better.
definitely will feel better when you get that surgery.
Yeah, I am. I'm fully prepared for that, or I'm fully looking forward to that. So that's my high and my low, wrapped up all in one nice little bow.
Nice. Well, I have to say that my high is this podcast. And it was about a year ago because, like, we had like texted occasionally, but we hadn't like talked on the phone for a long time because, like, after you got married, you moved away and then you were getting settled and blah, blah, blah. And, I mean, I always have a million and one things going on over here, but it was literally like a year ago when your knees were hurt where I reached out and you were like, "You're not gonna believe what has been going on," and you told me about your knees, and it was shortly thereafter that I was like, we had talked about doing a YouTube channel, we had talked about doing an eating show, like a mukbang, we had talked about doing all these different things, and I'm like, "We're gonna do a podcast, we're gonna do it now." And so that's my high, is this podcast.
Aw.
I look forward to recording. I look forward to doing the research for recording. I look forward to putting together I made um, you know, I've been doing little like social media things for it, and we're getting more interest, and it's just from a creative standpoint, it's just so enjoyable. And a lot
Mm-hmm.
of times people just look at a video or they listen to music or they listen to a podcast or they read a news a sound bite or listen to a sound bite or read a news clip. They don't realize all the work that goes into it, and maybe for some people that is like not enjoyable, but this whole process, because Cheryl and I do everything from start to finish, this whole process is enjoyable.
Mm-hmm.
And
And you do
so
most of
that's
it.
that's no, I don't. So that's the high. Um and my low is that Last week, Maria, bless her generous and sweet heart, helped me rearrange the furniture in our bedroom because we have this beautiful big floor to ceiling window on one side of the room. And it looks out onto like all these beautiful what's that? Are you guys doing communion over there? It's like you're clanking the glass like cha-ching.
I'm having a Buddhist ceremony.
Oh
That was that
yeah.
little bowl.
That's what it was. They're all, and now everyone, deep breath in, hold the air, gong. Anyway, so I wanted the bed to be against the window so that we could lay in bed and look out at the beautiful greenery. It's very picturesque. And also, it's summertime, so it's not 20 degrees in our bedroom. Our bedroom gets very cold because it's on the corner of the house. So two of the walls are exposed, to the outside. And then
Yeah.
there's a door. So it's actually kind of like two and a half walls, three walls. Anyway, we moved it. We don't have a headboard. So the first night we went to bed, my husband has farmer's hours and it's still light out when he goes to bed. But I like to go and talk and chit chat. And then sometimes I'll read because I got this cool booklet for my niece at Christmas that I like instantly looked at and went, this is for old people, but now I love it. And, um, and then I got a neck crick, which I'm still nursing because there's no headboard, so I can't lean against anything. So I'm propped up, scrunched up on like five
Oh
pillows,
God.
and my neck's all jacked up because and my back. So Gabe had to help me. And remember, we have a king size bed, two end tables, a giant throw rug under the bed that has to be turned a new direction. So you have
Oh,
to dismantle everything, unplug everything, take all the bedding off, move everything has to be moved to the side. Then you have to move the rug first. Well, the rug's underneath everything. Then you have to
uh-huh.
put the bed frame and yeah, so of course, and I had asked the girls, I was like, "Hey, anybody want to help me rearrange our bedroom?" And they were both like,
They all
"No."
ran.
Yeah, they're like, "Fuck that noise." And then one of them goes, "Why? You're just going to change it back in a couple weeks."
Exactly.
So anyway, when Maria shows up next week, she's going to go, "Wait, I thought we just rearranged your bedroom." And I'm going to be like, "Yeah, but he gave me a neck crank." So anyway, that's my low. So I can't tell if my neck hurts from rearranging the furniture or if it hurts from like being all scrunched up in bed, but whatever.
Sounds like it's a combo. Well, let this be a lesson that you might put your furniture like rearranging to bed now. No pun intended.
I I know, right?
Yeah,
But
you gotta cut that shit out.
I really enjoy rearranging the furniture.
Well, you're getting too old for it.
I know. You know what? I almost thought about doing it by myself, but I
Oh,
just had
that's
this
good.
oh yeah, just had this vision of like falling under the bed, it collapses on me, and then I wouldn't get to podcast. So anyway, we've got some shout outs this week.
All
We
right.
have a shout out to those of you that are reaching out via text to tell us how much you're enjoying this podcast. And those of you are Francoise, my sister in law, and Gabe's cousin Dave, who used our email address for the first time, murder and everything else at gmail.com.
Nice.
We have so many fun things coming down the pipeline. So stand by for new stuff. I just recorded a new ad campaign. We're going to be having some new segments, new subjects, and some new guests, and also a shout out to my neighbor Teresa, who invited me to the beach for a short weekend girls trip last weekend. Everyone should have a friend that invites them to the beach for a weekend getaway. Sun, sand, rest, relaxation, good conversation, and we found a kick-ass consignment store. And I walked out with a bag full of stuff, and she walked out with a bag full of stuff. And we didn't break the bank. We only, I think I spent like $40 and I got a really cool top. And what else did I get? I don't remember what the other thing was, but it was pretty cool too. Oh, a dress. A dress, a top. I got a Tiffany's ring that I always wanted, a sterling silver one for $6.
Whoa,
And
that's
yeah,
good.
and I got a cute pendant that I could wear in the summertime, which
You know what
I'll
you should do?
probably I'll probably never wear it, but whatever.
You know all these purchases you're talking about, especially your
Yeah.
handbags and your shoes. You should put it on our Murder and Everything Else Instagram, along with the coffee mug.
Oh, yeah, I could put the mug inside the shoe. Or, you know what's really popular, I've heard? That if you go to OnlyFans, I've heard there's a lot of people who have their feet on there, and you can pay money for, like, pictures of their feet.
Hmm.
I wonder
Nobody
if
wants
o
to see my feet.
I wonder if OnlyFans has people who like to look at mugs.
Maybe.
And by mugs, I mean coffee mugs.
But people might be curious as to all these things, like in your shoes. When you talk about your shoes and your handbags, they might be curious as to what it actually looks like.
Yeah, maybe. And also your sunflower handbags.
Well, I have one.
I thought you had another one, a bigger,
Oh,
heavier
yeah,
one.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Um, which by the way is very cute. And also it's super heavy, so if you ever need to use that as a weapon, you could like
yeah.
turn around and go, "Why
Yeah.
yeah!" and clock someone with it.
Yep. Doubles as
Well,
a weapon.
guys, on that note, we are detouring away in well, actually no, we're not because we're going to have some murder in here, but we are not going to be focusing on one murder case, but instead this week we're going to be talking about some current events. And so I have two current event stories. How many do you have, Cheryl?
Uh, two, two short ones and three short ones. I'll make
Okay.
it short.
Cheryl's still learning how to count, guys. So just bear with her. She's like, one, two, three, two, three. Okay. Anyway, so so it's been a busy news cycle the last couple weeks. So we thought we would do some current events. It reminds me of that little song that they used to make the kids sing in elementary school. What's the weather like today? Like today, you know? And
No.
then some kid would always get up and run to the window, and then they'd run back and give the teacher the like weather forecast. It's cloudy, and the teacher would put up a little cloud on the like board, you know, and then the kids would be like, "It is cloudy today, today." I don't know. Maybe that's how it went.
Are you confusing this with an episode of Little House on the Prairie?
No, they literally used to do this when my daughter was in kindergarten.
Oh,
So
oh, see, I
it was
wouldn't
a
know
while
it.
ago.
Yeah.
Anyway, Cheryl, you want to start with your first current event?
Sure.
All right.
So, people, not everybody will know this because maybe you weren't interested, but I'll tell you, after the movie Titanic came out, James Cameron's Titanic, I was so obsessed with everything Titanic. I love the footage of, because James Cameron went down there many times and he took footage of the Titanic wreck at the bottom of the sea. And you can see like the dishes, from people and like personal
Wow.
things. And it's so like eerie but it's really and people are down there. I mean, they died. Over 1,500 people died in the Titanic sinking. So it's like a graveyard down there. But it's almost like time has stood still, and you see like these personal pieces, and you can't retrieve it. So it's just there. So on Sunday there was this a company called Ocean Gate, which reminds me of Watergate. So that's kind of probably a bad omen right there. But they took this submersible, which it's a really hard word for me, but it's not like a submarine, because a submarine, according to what I've listened to, actually can propel itself. So it can go down in the water and it can move by itself. A submersible has to be dropped off by a mothership, and it has these really tiny propellers, and it kind of can just move around, but not like it's not like a submarine. Anyway, so it went missing on Sunday, right? And so um, they finally found debris on the bottom of the ocean near the Titanic. And so, of course, all five members on board are presumed dead, obviously. And there's just a lot of stuff like the Navy, I heard that they heard a very loud sound on Sunday, which
I
is the
I heard about the tapping. Somebody said
well,
there was tapping.
yeah. So I guess that's what they're supposed to do is like bang on the thing at 30-minute intervals, and they heard that yesterday. But I think that was wishful thinking because the supposedly the Navy heard a loud sound, which was probably the implosion on Sunday. It probably happened on
Oh,
Sunday. And it wasn't until was it yesterday that it was revealed that they found parts of the submersible. So they probably like imploded on Sunday just from the weight, the pressure of the water. Well, let me tell you, I mean, James Cameron has been down there 33 successful times, but he researched the heck out of his submersible, and I don't know how many years it took him, but he like it took years for them to develop it and test it. And this company really was like they were really negligent with their testing. And I saw a video where the CEO, is very proudly saying that the thing they used to control it from up top was basically a gaming console thing, gaming, you know,
whoa.
control. Yeah. And then he's like proudly like showing things to the reporter, like, got this from Camping World.
What? Shut
It's
up.
not funny. Yes, you can see that video.
Oh
And
my
I mean,
God.
it's not funny because people died, but
That's
I'm like, you know
horrible.
what? If I'm going down what is it? 13, is it 13,000 feet?
Oh, I
Whatever
thought
it is.
they just went down 30 feet.
No, no. Um,
Oh my God.
yeah, the pressure was
I
low.
didn't realize the Titanic was that far down.
Yeah, what is it? How far down? But
That's crazy.
uh,
Well, that explains why that thing imploded.
how deep? It's 12. The Titanic lies around 12,500 feet below sea level.
Oh my God.
Okay,
So a
so
mile is like what? Is a mile 7,650 feet? So
I
it's
don't know.
almost like 2 miles?
Yeah, it's I think they said like 2.5 miles or something. But
Whoa.
so if I'm going down that far, I want NASA approved and NASA made. Like, so James
But NASA
Cameron,
goes to space.
well,
So
whatever, you
maybe
know
you
what
don't
I'm
want
saying.
NASA.
I'm just saying that their material is probably a lot more resilient than something from Camping World. Okay. But yeah, so James Cameron is kind of like politely bagging on them, like,
Oh, is
there
he?
wasn't enough. Well, he's just saying that there wasn't enough testing done, and they just
Right.
went ahead with this trip. I don't know what to call it. Expedition, it's whatever it is. But the sad thing is, so there was a father and son on there, and the son, I saw a video of the mom, and she was like, my son was really afraid to go on this trip, but he wanted to bond with his dad. And then when I told Kevin that, he's like, why didn't they just go to a baseball game?
Right.
I mean, I'm not to make light of it, but
Oh my God.
so prior to this, I was really like, oh man, if I ever got rich enough to do this, because it's like $250,000 per person, I would love to do this. And then thinking, no, that's all right. I'll just watch it on my iPad. I'll
Right.
watch, footage of the Titanic. But anywho, it is very sad because I think a lot of steps were missed in doing so. But yeah, so that's the last, but like I told you yesterday, this is definitely a first world problem. There's
Right.
so many more things going on,
Well, it's
but
just like those people who are going up in SpaceX and like every third rocket explodes. I'm like, um, I'm
yeah,
sorry. And they'll be like, "Oh, it was a controlled explosion." I'm like, "I'm sorry." If you have a rocket that is exploding as it gets shot up into the air, I'm pretty sure I'm not going to be buying tickets on that trip.
Right? I know. And there was this one reporter that said that he had gone on one of these submersive dives, and they actually got down to the Titanic, and their little submersible got stuck in the propeller blade of the Titanic. Because that thing is huge, and in
Ooh,
comparison, the submersible is very tiny, and it kind of got caught for an hour. And he was like, "This is how I die." He said it was terrifying. But I think
how'd they get out?
they just maneuver. He said the captain, the pilot, I don't know what you call the driver, but he said he was very experienced and he got them out of it. But like James Cameron was saying, when he would go down, he'd have another submersible go down. So if anybody got stuck, they could help each other out. So I'm
Oh,
sticking with James Cameron. If
that's
I go
smart.
down to see the Titanic, I'm calling James. Jimmy Cam. That's what I call him, Jimmy Cam. Anywho,
That's
that's
crazy.
yeah,
I will tell you that, like, remember those 13 boys in
yeah,
Thailand or
Thailand.
something?
Yeah.
I gotta tell
Oh,
you, like, whenever I hear stories like that, I'm always pulling for those people like, "Oh, they're gonna find them. They're gonna find them." But this was not one of those situations.
yeah. And it's sad because you know, it sounds like there's some negligence, on the company's part, and then you have a lot of resources and other people putting their lives at risk. At risk, the Thailand boys, that was a complete accident, right? Them getting stuck in the cave. But this is
Right.
like it's kind of it's very tragic and it's a little bit maddening because if they were reckless, because according to everything, that submersible wasn't ready to go down, and so they did it anyway. And now all these other people are involved, right? Risking their lives to find them and all that. And now I guess there's a
Crazy.
question about whether they're going to try to recover. I mean, I don't know what's going to be. I don't mean to be gruesome, but I don't know what's going to be left of them. The thing
I
imploded.
know. That's crazy.
Anyway.
And also remember there's like all kind of like ocean life down there.
Mm-hmm.
So even if they like, maybe their body was intact, like I mean a shark just comes along and goes glump.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
know if sharks I don't know if sharks can go that low because
Yeah, it's
I don't
pretty good.
know.
I don't know. I don't know
Well,
anything.
actually sharks are fish, so they don't need air. So they're not like whales. But I don't know. I guess they could go that low. I don't really know anything about marine life,
Me
guys.
too.
So don't come for me about the shark comment.
I just know there was a brief period when I was in grade school that I thought I wanted to be an oceanographer. I don't know why, but
Ooh,
but as you can see, it didn't go
interesting.
anywhere.
Right.
All right. So is your headline a little bit happier than that one?
No, actually, I'm heading into murder.
Oh.
My headline is it's the headline I took it from the Law and Crime website, and it is about this girl from New Mexico, Alexi Treviso. The headline reads Newborn boy found dead in heavier than usual hospital trash bag after 19-year-old with lower back pain allegedly locks herself in bathroom. Um, a
Mm.
teenager aged 19, Alexi Treviso, shows up at a New Mexico hospital at the ER with lower back pain. They ask her if she's pregnant and she says no, but they run a pregnancy test and tell her that she's pregnant and the lower back pain is indeed labor. So she has
Mm-hmm.
gone into labor.
Mm.
She goes to the bathroom after a certain amount of time goes by, and there is hospital surveillance footage that you can see online. It's all over the socials, it's all over the internet
We
where she
talked
has
about this. There's
she
cameras everywhere,
yeah,
people. We do
there's
not
cameras everywhere.
nothing you do.
She's holding her hand on her butt like something's coming out because she's wearing sweatpants. And I'll tell you, when you go into labor, something comes out. And there is a point where you get to where you can no longer not push, and it's
Mm,
called your body just knows what to do. There's another word for it called evolution, but I don't want to like piss off people who think I'm talking about climbing out of the slime, or being monkeys once upon a time. I mean that evolutionarily, we our bodies know what to do. Just like when a mother dog has puppies and they just know to root around until they find a teat and start latching on,
mhm.
your body knows when it's like you have to dilate to a certain size centimeter. It sounds crazy, but it's like so big. It's like, how does your body do that? And at that point, you start to bear down because your body, it just pushes this thing out. I'm
It's
sure
like
there's a
pooping.
medical, yeah, there's exactly, because you do that too. And I'm sure there's a better medical explanation for this. But anyway, she's holding her butt. She probably had the urge to push. She runs
Hmm.
into the bathroom, locks herself in there for 20 minutes, and then comes out. Someone goes into the bathroom and notifies housekeeping that the bathroom is covered in blood.
Mm,
So housekeeping puts up a little sign and goes in. And anyone who has had a baby knows that's not a good sign if the bathroom's covered in blood. Either something bad has happened or she had the baby in the bathroom.
right,
As they're cleaning the bathroom, they take the trash bag out to dispose of it and notice it's heavier than usual. That is when they make the discovery that there's a newborn baby's body in the bottom of the trash bag. It's dead
oh
and
God.
appears that it has been suffocated by being tied up in the trash bag. They have hospital surveillance camera footage of the housekeepers coming out of the bathroom. The worker who discovers the baby is visibly shaken and being comforted by medical staff members because she just discovered a body. They
Right,
also
right.
have body cam footage of the police officer coming to the hospital room where Alexi Treviso is and telling her that this is now an investigation and she is not going to be able to leave the hospital
Mm.
on her own. And she starts to whine. Her mother's standing next to the bed, saying that the baby was not breathing. Literally, one of the first things she says when she put it in the trash bag.
Oh, so
Her
that's
mom,
okay. It wasn't
yeah,
breathing, so that's fine that
right.
you put it in the trash can.
Her mom seems more upset that her daughter is lying about being pregnant and having a baby without telling her than the fact that she has killed her baby. And I'll just say, anybody who watches that, I've watched the clips multiple times. I I understand that when people are in shock, they don't realize obviously they're being recorded and they say and do things that maybe they are not within their complete capacity to like decipher at that moment. However,
Hmm.
okay, there's a much bigger issue here.
Yeah,
Um and you can tell the mom is really disappointed that it's almost like she's working out that she's so disappointed that her child was pregnant and didn't tell her,
that
because which is
I'll
really crazy.
I'll be honest with you. I can't watch the video. I
Oh,
watched parts of it, and then you've told me, and the parts that I've seen, they're like you said, you never know how people are going to react. But from what the little I saw, they're so indifferent. I couldn't watch it.
yeah, it's
I
so
can't watch it.
alarming.
It is so
Also,
alarming. It's so disproportionate to what's
yeah,
happening that it's
exactly.
so uncomfortable for me. I cannot watch it.
Also, the police have body cam footage of the cops referring to the mom as the grandmother of the deceased, and she she kind of acts like what, and then she points to Alexi's boyfriend and identifies him and says he's also related to the deceased. So it's almost like she doesn't accept that this was a baby. Like like
That's so
it's
bizarre.
very bizarre. And again, I understand the mother must have been operating under with a great amount of shock. And she doesn't realize that these body cam videos and surveillance video is recording her. She doesn't show any remorse at
No,
all, but rather she kind of acts like she's in a denial state of what's happening. And again, so I go back to the denial maybe being a form of shock. I'm not a psychologist or a psychiatrist, but the daughter, Alexi, remember she's 19. She's old enough to hide a pregnancy for 9 months. Obviously she hid from her mother that she was having sex because her mom didn't seem to realize, like, anything was going on. Although I've seen photographs of Alexi when she was right before she went in the hospital, because there were pictures of her like jumping, doing some sports at school and standing sideways. She definitely was trying to cover up the fact that she was pregnant, and she's definitely pregnant,
Hmm.
you know? Um, so anyway, at this point, Alexi goes into custody. She doesn't leave the hospital with her family, with her mom. She leaves the hospital with the police. She is charged with willful and deliberate first degree murder and tampering with evidence, to which she pleads not guilty, and they release her with conditions. She has a curfew, she does not have an ankle monitor, and she is allowed to finish the last days of her high school year and graduate with her graduating class. Personally, I think that was a huge mistake. Huge.
Yeah.
Um, when the police go back to her house to arrest her, her mother is combative with the officers. Again, this is body cam footage that's available on the socials and all over the internet. It also records her negotiating with the officer about her attorney having told her that her daughter would be put in isolation because the mother is fearful she will be hurt by other inmates due to her crime, that she killed her baby, and that all the information is available, and so everyone knows her, knows what she looks like, and knows what the crime is, and she's fearful of all the people in prison hurting her daughter. It's very disconcerting as a
Hmm.
parent, as a parent of female children, as a mother. I can't even, I can't I gotta tell you, I can't put my head around it. Anyway, she was arrested on May 10th. So she's sitting in New Mexico somewhere in a jail awaiting some kind of next step.
Hmm.
I don't know what those next steps are, because I'm not the person who enjoys the murder cases. But I will tell you this. They did an autopsy and they found that the baby was breathing when the baby was put
Mm.
in the bag, and that the baby showed signs of asphyxiation, which
Yeah.
would indicate that the baby died from lack of oxygen from being placed in the bag. But in cases like this where it's a young person, obviously she probably told her parents one thing. I don't know if there's a father in the picture. The mother was the only visible person in all of these recordings. So the mother seems to be the only person who's like kind of putting her face out there, to be associated with this. But I I mean, it's not just one issue. It's this combination of multi layers of, whatever, family shame or embarrassment, or, the lying. She obviously tried to hide the pregnancy. I don't believe for a second her mother didn't know she was pregnant, because how do you hide a pregnancy from your mother for 9 months?
Well, I do know someone that she honestly said she did not know she was pregnant until yeah, I don't
Until she
see.
gave birth?
I pretty much think it was until she gave birth or very close to that.
Wow.
And this is not someone that would make, there's no reason for her to make it up. So I do
Well,
believe that happens.
I
But I
mean,
have,
I believe it can happen, like, if someone carries the baby differently, or maybe they're very thin and they don't care, but I will say that, like, then there's also the other issues of what happened after,
yeah,
once the baby
that's
came, and that
exactly.
part for me is so, I mean, there's so many
Troubling.
safe haven laws in states where you can relinquish a baby and you can drop it. She could have had the baby and gone home, and they could have later taken it to a firehouse and relinquished the baby, or they could have turned it over to social services if they didn't feel like she was available, like able to, or she could have reached out to her mother and said, I need to place this baby into adoption because I'm not ready to be a parent. I mean, there's just so many options available. I mean, you have to I go to like the desperation that somebody has to feel when they decide that this is the only option. I mean, she's probably going to spend 20 years in prison, and let me just tell you, she's going to come out a criminal because
Mhm.
she's going to be surrounded by them, and she's 19 years old.
Yeah. Well, what's really troubling to me, well, obviously besides the obvious, obviously besides the obvious, is her mom's reaction.
Yeah.
Um, that's really disturbing because that
Yeah.
makes you wonder how the dynamic between the two of them, did that have any, you know, was that a factor in how she handled how the it was her mother's behavior and their relationship up until this, was that a factor in how she dealt with it? You know what I mean?
Oh
The
yeah.
mother's reaction is just really, I mean, I can't judge anyone. I've never been in that situation, that exact situation. But like I said, I can't watch the video. It's very, and you're talking about somebody who can watch movies of people's heads getting cut off. But the behavior is so, like I said, it's so disassociated with what's happening. It's bizarre. I can't watch it.
Well, and let's say she didn't know that she was pregnant. And so she was genuinely alarmed and horrified when she went to the bathroom and she pulled her pants down and there was a baby coming out or whatever. So pull that little red ring button or the help button in the bathroom because every hospital is equipped with one. Open the door and start screaming. Someone's going to come in and help you,
Hmm.
and
Yeah.
then take it from there. I mean, shit happens. Like, and then I've been in situations where I felt like I had no way out, and always, I know you're gonna laugh, but it always brings to mind that the Sound of Music when Maria decides that she's going to leave the convent to take care of Captain Von Trapp's children, and the Reverend Mother looks at her and says, Maria, sometimes when God closes a door, he always opens a window. So I always think about that, like, and I feel very fortunate that, like, you know, sometimes I had to kick the window open when the door slammed shut, but you know
It's
what? I never had to break any laws. I mean, that's like, well, not those kind of laws. So anyway, I just want to say that, like, my heart really feels burdened for her and for her family, of course, because I feel like maybe she didn't only not know what to do and made a horrible decision, but the the way she responded to her mother when her mother said, "I told you," like her mother kind of went after her and she instantly turned into a small child. Her body language and her voice was so telling. She turned into like a 4-year-old and she started whining. And I watched this 19-year-old girl kind of cower in front of her mother. But my heart just breaks for this baby who will never, ever, live. And for Alexi, because she's now going to go to prison for how many years. And the family will always have this, I mean, these are the kinds of things that really change and shape what a family looks like. I can
mhm.
tell you from experience, this family will never be the same because of this.
Yeah, well, for sure. Yeah.
Anywho, what's your next current event?
Okay, well, this is just a brief, very brief update on Brian Koberger, the
Ooh.
man accused of killing the four college students in Moscow, Idaho. So a DNA swab was taken right from his cheek, and it is matched to the knife sheath that was found under Maddie Mogan's body. So,
Oh,
yeah, okay.
how can they
I'm
match
stuck.
it?
Technology, baby. What do you mean? What are you
I
talking about?
mean, it's
DNA.
just so
It's gonna.
unbelievable
I know,
how they can
and
do all that
I
stuff.
know it's incredible. So this is the. Let me see. What is the statistic? The comparison showed a statistical match, specifically the short tandem repeat. Okay, this is all technical terms, but the profile is at least 5.37 octillion times more likely to be seen. Is 5.37 octillion times more likely that it's him, basically, that it's his DNA. And
Wow.
octillion is, I looked this up, octillion is 27 zeros after the number.
Whoa.
So yeah, so anyway, but so now though his trial is set for October 2nd. But it's probably going to be pushed out. Some people experts are saying that's going to be next year. Is it going to have they have a lot of discovery and all that, right? The evidence, you got to share it with the other side, blah, blah, blah. I'm hoping it happens in October because I think that's when I'm going to be laid up with my knees and I can watch the entire trial.
Oh
And
my
you're going to come
God.
over and pamper me.
Can
And then we can watch
I
it together.
can I swim in October?
Yes. Yeah.
Yes. Then I'm there.
Yeah. Joy has volunteered to come and cook, among other things that I won't mention, and
Cook, dance, sing,
tell jokes.
watch, tell jokes, watch period piece movies.
No, that was not in the contract.
Also, I'm
But
going to be helping Cheryl with her memoirs. Remember, it's going to be called Bone to Bone. Ah.
but yeah, that'll be actually cool. If you're here, we can watch some of it together. But anyway, that's just the latest. It's just not looking good for him, but he'll probably plead
No,
not
it's
guilty.
not. Of
Well,
course.
but everybody has a chance because look at OJ, right? He
Oh
set the
God.
bar for
Dude, that guy had so many chances because then remember he like got caught for like selling counterfeit something later on and
I
then even
know.
did
He's
go to prison for like extortion and blackmail and something else. It was like
mhm.
I was like, when is enough enough?
Yeah. Well, he did
Anyway.
pay. He did go to prison for his little Vegas stint, but he didn't pay for the big one. So, but I think
Right.
that in every criminal's
Oh,
mind,
believe me, he paid. He may not have paid in years served, time served, but
mhm,
everyone pays,
yeah,
right?
I
His
don't know. He's out
career
there
paid.
golfing.
Don't you think his
Yeah, but
career paid? Like probably
yeah,
his
but he's
family
still living.
relationships.
Yeah, but he killed two
Uh,
people in cold blood, and so. But I'm just saying, he set this precedent. I really believe this. When people have with Brian Koberger, there's so much evidence against him already, right? But if I were him, I'd be like, damn, OJ got off with a sock in his bedroom that had Nicole and Ron's blood on it. He got off.
wow.
It's like, so I'd be like, I'm gonna play not guilty too.
Mm.
Of course, he's not going to have the dream team that OJ did. But anywho, that is the latest. Keep it brief because I'm sure there's going to be a lot of updates between now and October.
Oh
But
yeah.
yeah.
So stay tuned, guys, for
Mm-hmm.
updates. Well, my next current event story, this is actually my last one. I only had two. And this one is so up my alley.
Hmm.
The FDA came out in the news this week, approved, there was FDA approval this week for farmed or fabricated meat.
Oh, the chicken.
Uh-huh. This info was taken from the Food and Drug Administration.gov website,
Mm-hmm.
but the title read Human Food Made with Cultured Animal Cells. This is the ability to take a few cells from a living animal and grow them in a controlled environment, a laboratory, to create food from cultured animal cells that will be used in the food service industry. There is currently no food that is made like this for sale in the United States. So, for example, if you buy a piece of chicken, it was an animal at some point in
Right.
a chicken farm somewhere where it was living in a small cage being pumped full of antibiotics and hormones to get it nice and fat and juicy so they could slaughter it 3 minutes later and send it to one of these giant meat packing companies that will package it up and sell it to a Walmart for like 98 cents a pound. Um, this is huge for the food service industry and also for human consumption. It's also a huge deal for slaughterhouses and for chicken farming, beef farming, and animal um, meat farming in this country. The four large companies are Cargill, Tyson Foods, JBSSA, and National Beef Packing. Um, and they say that they have like it's not a monopoly, it's like an oligopoly or something. I don't it's like a monopoly, but for these four companies. Basically, they control all of the meat packing in this
Mhm.
country and probably most of the world. Anyway, the FDA is continuing to work with firms that are developing food made from cultured animal cells. While it is a shared responsibility for the FDA and industry to ensure food is safe, it is the manufacturer's responsibility to ensure they are marketing food that meets all applicable FDA requirements. And I'm sure that everybody remembers the mad cow disease outbreak and when Oprah said that she was going to go off beef, the beef industry took a huge hit. It was affected strongly by her comments. Beef stock prices tanked. People stopped buying beef for a long period of time because they were terrified that that this was happening and nobody was reporting it.
Mhm.
Um, the food animal rules in this country are atrocious. Animals have no quality of life and are slaughtered in a horrible way. Also, remember that meat contamination issues continue with the mad cow disease outbreak in the 80s that I mentioned, listeria outbreaks, salmonella, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I feel like every day there's, or at least once a week, there's some kind of food recall due to contamination. And that's because it's not just about like raising the animal, slaughtering the animal, packaging the animal. But what about the refuse? What about the waste the animal generates while it's being grown to slaughter or before it goes to slaughter? What about the parts that are left when the animal is then slaughtered? In North Carolina, we have pig farms that I believe are owned by Smithfield, which is a huge pork processing company and meat packing company. And when we had hurricanes and flooding, the pig waste was literally in the river waters,
Mhm.
the lake waters, it was in the ocean
Mhm.
because it had nowhere to run off to. So as the waters started to fill up, so did all the pig refuse. And now you have people who can no longer move back to their trailers or their homes or their schools because it's all been contaminated with pig refuse. This is all part of the the food animal rules in this country and how we have, you know, we also it creates methane, which is part of what's breaking down and causing global warming and other environmental catastrophic events. So, if we do this, we can um, back off of some of this large animal and food animal business that we have in this country and focus on also not terrorizing a chicken for the short life it has, or a cow, or a sheep, or whatever, pig. Pigs are very intelligent animals. This brings to mind the book Orcs and Crake by Margaret Atwood, who wrote this book over 25 years ago, but talks about manufactured meat in a factory conveyor belt type setting. How she knew that this was going to be in the news 25, 30 years later, I have no idea.
Mhm.
But guess what? It's in the news. Um she also predicted things like Starbucks and I mean, it's so amazing. She must have tapped into like conspiracy theories and I don't know because when she wrote the book, the internet wasn't around. So it wasn't like she could go online and type in what's new in conspiracy theory land. But if you haven't read this book, Orcs and Crake by Margaret Atwood, it's one of a it's the first book in a three-part trilogy. It's one of the best books I've ever read. I actually have read it probably 50 times. I used to read it
Mhm.
once a year because it was so, so good. Um, but anyway, It's good, but it's scary.
Yeah.
So, anyway, keep an eye out for manufactured meat next time you order a chicken burger. I mean, it'll take a while for them to get this all out, and distributed. But imagine cows in a field just being cows.
Yeah, I know. See,
Like,
you talking about it makes me want to stop eating animals
yes.
again because back in the 90s, I forgot his first name, but his last name is Robbins, and he was, excuse me, an heir to the Robbins side of Baskin and Robbins ice cream. And he declined, getting into the family business, and he went on an environmental journey, and he wrote this book called Diet for a New America. And I remember someone telling me, one of my dancer friends, she said, if you read this, she said, you have to be prepared to change how you eat before you read this because it's going to change you. And it did. And I didn't eat meat for 9 years after that.
It was John Robbins.
Okay. Yeah, the first thing he talks about, the first few chapters are the treatment of the animals, and that was enough.
Yeah.
I'm not going to even go into it, but that was enough. And then it was like you said, how it affects the environment and all of that. And you're
Yeah.
you're ingesting all the antibiotics they put in there, in
Yeah.
like the chickens to pump them up and stuff. So
They
it
say that
actually,
girls in the United States are menstruating at like as early as age 7 and 8 from the
ugh,
result of all of the hormones that are pumped into, yeah, and antibiotics that are pumped into the animals that we eat.
yeah,
And for people who say, "Well, I only source free range, organic, blah 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 blah," like, wake up. You know
yeah.
what?
No, it's fine
Unless you raise the chicken in your yard
yourself.
and then you chase it around and chop its head off with an axe and pull the feathers out, dip it in the boiling water, and do all that crazy shit to it, you have no way of knowing what that chicken's life was like.
Yeah. No, if I am going to stay away from I animal products completely is hard. I tried doing that and it's just really hard because you can't use butter and all that stuff, and it
Right.
just hard. It's like impossible to go out and eat unless, well, now there's a lot of vegan places, but
But now you'll be able to eat manufactured meat and not have the guilt of
mhm.
having a poor chicken with no legs or arms sitting in a
uh,
little cage.
let's
No,
not get into
seriously
detail.
though. I mean, I I think, for those of us who like spam ham, we've been eating manufactured meat for years.
I know. See, I
Also, those of us
truly.
who like veggie meat, we've also been eating manufactured meat because, that tofu never ever had a mother.
But you know what? Because I've gotten into Impossible Burger, I've told you that, and then Impossible makes Impossible chicken nuggets, and there's a lot of alternatives. And actually,
They're
you're
good.
inspiring me with the story. You're actually inspiring me not to eat meat, but I
Yeah,
cannot, I
I
cannot
gotta.
give up seafood though. Not
Oh
fish.
yeah,
I'm not a big fish, but I love shellfish, shrimp,
yeah.
clam. I don't think I could, but hey,
You
I
don't
could.
like fish?
Not really.
Oh,
I
I
think I
like
used to like it
fish.
more before, but
We
no,
eat
I
a
love
lot of salmon.
shellfish.
Not a lot. I mean, we eat
It's
salmon maybe once every two
it's too
weeks.
fishy. Anyway,
But I also like the shrimpies, and I really like, I mean, they had mothers too, though. So,
well,
but
I
I
can
gotta
only do
tell
so much.
you, when I met my husband, he said, "Don't ever ask me to be a vegetarian because I won't be one. I like meat and I will always like meat." And you know what? He's a pescatarian now. I didn't
Oh,
ask him to be a pescatarian. He actually became a pescatarian all on his own. Oh, and newsflash, he's a veterinarian. So he, like, he works with animals, and it's not because he liked them all and didn't want to eat their children or the offspring. He just knows what goes into a lot of like how animals are treated, and I don't know. I don't want to go into a whole thing.
but
I don't
is
want
that
the
was
PETA
the
people knocking down, but also the environmental factors. You know how much methane these pig and cow manufacturing places
oh I can
generate?
ugh.
I mean, it's so detrimental to our ozone and to the air we breathe, and I can't even all you have to do is Google mad cow disease, like
Yeah.
literally. And also, there's plenty of animals out there if you want to live off the land. I mean, we got bunny rabbits hopping through the yard. You can have some rabbit stew, you can have some deer venison, you can have a nice squirrel um pie, a
Mm,
deep fried squirrel.
delicious. But do you think that was a factor in him cutting down, or does he not eat it at all, or he cut down on meat?
He no longer eats chicken, beef, pork, lamb, goat, or what are the other ones? He doesn't eat, he never ate horse,
Oh God.
knowingly.
Except for the time you made him that really special Father's Day meal.
Deep fried horse balls.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
And
No,
horse
but you
balls
know
are
what?
bigger than your average ball. You got to
Oh,
really stretch your lips to get them around the horse.
okay. Okay. All right. Well, anyway, when is the
Anyway,
target date for this? Do we
of
know?
what?
Is like they're already producing it?
Oh,
This
yeah, they're already working on it. But I think that because of like things like Beyond Meat and Impossible Meat, they're like competing brands. I mean, before we had Morningstar, and Morningstar, while it was delicious, it was not a meat substitute because it didn't taste like meat. It didn't have meat consistency. It was heavily seasoned, kind of rubbery in texture. But the Impossible and Beyond, it is a near perfect imitation.
yeah.
Even
Well,
down to like when you cook it, there is a pink substance that weeps out of the burgers. The inside of the burger can still remain a little pink. And 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 I think that kind of paved the way for this. I don't
mhm.
know
Although
for
I do
sure,
like
but
more, we like Morningstar sausage patties. Those are good.
oh yeah, but have you noticed recently that they've changed them a little bit to try to match the
Impossible.
breakfast sausage patties by Beyond?
Oh
To give
no.
them more of like a, how meat gives you a little spring back when you bite into it? It gives you
You know how
a little
your meat
fatty
likes to bite back?
burst. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
no.
like
You know what?
it's almost like they put a little piece of chewing gum in there. It's like crunchy, crunchy, crunch. It's like a little trampoline for your molars. Well, that's what they did to it, and I don't like it. I want my tofu to taste like tofu.
Oh no, and I'm not into no shade on this brand, but I asked Kevin to pick up some Impossible meat, and they were out of it, so he brought Beyond home, and I didn't like it.
Oh, you think Impossible's better than Beyond?
Yeah, for me personally,
Oh, I'll have
no,
to try it.
I tried saute, just sauteing it in pan,
Hmm.
like, and it took forever to cook. It was unappealing. I didn't even taste
Ooh,
it.
sounds like
I
beef.
just
Um, well, one of those brands makes a wiener. I don't know if it's Beyond Wiener or if it's Impossible. I don't know if it's
I don't
Impossible
know what's
Wiener.
funner. I don't know what's funner. I don't know what's funnier. Impossible Wiener or Beyond Wiener. Let's take a vote.
But one of them makes a wiener, and I have to say that Gabe really enjoys that wiener. He says that they
Oh my God.
he says
If Gabe's last name was Wiener, like Anthony Wiener, would you have kept your name
I
Joy
might
Wiener?
have I might have combined
At
them.
least
Well, we
hyphenated?
could no, well, we could have melded them. It could have been Queener or it could have been Wink.
No.
Like that.
Oh my
But
gosh.
anyway, if you get a chance to try the wieners, he says they put a casing on the wiener so it gives you a good crunch when you crunch through the casing. And the inside, the meat, he says, is so fatty and delicious. It really resembles like I mean they're called wieners, right?
Yeah, I get it. I would just call them sausage. I don't really call them wieners. I say
Yes.
hot dog. dog or
The sound
sausage?
of Cheryl's voice just then was the sound she makes when I'm getting ready to tell a poop story. She goes,
I don't know.
I don't know. Anyway,
It's just
I call them
appetizing.
wieners because
I mean, you
I
don't
think the
see
word,
wieners on a menu. They call it hot
yeah,
dog or sausage.
Oscar
You
Mayer wiener.
don't.
Remember Oscar Mayer wiener?
I know, but I don't
I
call it
like the word wiener. It sounds really like
appetizing.
isn't it? No, isn't it from German? Isn't it called like Wiener or Wiener or something like that?
I
I
don't
think it
know.
comes from the German word,
Well,
but I
good for
like the
them.
word wiener because the other thing is it's such a descriptive word.
Okay. That
Anyway,
pretty much speaks for
we
itself.
we should probably get off of crunchy wieners. What's your last
No,
news
I think we
story?
should end on crunchy wieners
You think-
because my last one was just going to be a real downer. So I think we should end on a high note.
we should end. We're gonna end this podcast,
On
folks,
crunchy
on
wieners.
crunchy wieners. And also, I will not be taking the last name Wiener. You heard it here first.
Joy
So it's a good
Kim
thing that
Wiener.
Gabe's last name was not Wiener.
Oh
Anyway,
man.
even though we only talked about murder a little bit today, do you know what is a crime?
What's that, Joy?
That we are out of time.
Oh, that's too bad. Thanks for listening, everyone, and don't complicate your day.